You're listening to Cowboy Shit with Ted and Wacey, brought to you by Everything Cowboy.
Let's get this circus on down the road. We're taking bets up all the tank and gas will go. Last time we found it, can't remember much. I thought I was a god until my lawyer woke me up and said, testify that I was right out of my mind. Let the record show I did it off the rock and roll, screaming every night, bringing 25 to life. So somebody please keep me to hell.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Cowboy Shit with Ted and Wacey. My name's Ted Stovin. He's Wacey Anderson. And I would say that fall is
arrived, man.
Fall is happening around us.
It's crazy. It's crazy how fast it hits. It's like as soon as Labor Day weekend rolls up, it's like, okay, that's enough summer for all you guys. It's cold now.
For anyone north of the 49th, it seems.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I don't know.
Yeah,
I haven't looked
like
at the forecast for a while here, but like it's been pretty decent. It's been pretty decent. Like we've had a really the weather's been pretty outstanding. It's been too hot for most folks for quite a while.
Where I notice
here.
it the most though is in the evenings. Like as soon as like 5 or 6 o'clock hits, like you can notice it's a significant
Getting a little chilly.
difference. Yeah, it's crazy.
Even in the Okanagan.
Even the Okanagan. It's kind of shitty out here now. It's smoky and rainy, and we currently have no power at Jen's place, so we're just living.
It looks like it gets cold again next week. Gonna almost freeze on Tuesday next week.
Well, there's already snow at Sunshine Village, which is the ski hill just west of Calgary. So we'll be skiing here in the end of the October, probably early November.
No, not till late November. I'm out. I'll go later. I guess you are a skier though. You're gonna go skiing soon. What do you want to do? What are you gonna do this winter? What are you gonna do with yourself? Where are you gonna be? What's been gonna be going on?
I'll probably do kind of the same that I've been doing, is bouncing back and forth between Calgary and the Okanagan. Be nice. Do some skiing at Silver Star. I mean, the way things are shaping up, the fall's gonna be fairly busy. Like we go to Arizona here in 3 weeks, maybe a month now.
What's the date? Isn't it like the 14th or something?
We leave. Well, the weekend of the 14th. Actually, I need to sit down and do my schedule. I've been meaning to do that. But yeah, the weekend of the 14th, my nephew gets baptized. And then we fly out on the 18th. So just a little over a month. Then we fly to Arizona.
It's a month.
Yeah. And then
shows on the 22nd or what?
Shows on the 19th. And then we hang out
Wednesday.
there for a few days. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So we're doing Phoenix for 2 days, and then the Zach Bryan show Wednesday night, and then we're going to Sedona for 2 days, and then back to Scottsdale for 2 days. Cool.
6 nights away.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be cool. I've never been to Arizona, so looking forward to that.
It's a nice place. Should be good in October too. It'll just be starting to cool down a bit. Should be anyways.
Sounds like a few of our friends from the Kimes crew will be in attendance of the concert and in the area at the time, so it'll be nice to catch up with them.
Right on.
And then right into the CFR basically.
Cool, man.
And then PBR finals, and then maybe Viva Las Vegas. So by the time we know, it's gonna be Christmas.
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah, you've got a little bit on the go there, I guess. And I guess so. We're recording this on a Wednesday. Today's what?
Yeah,
the 14th. And then tomorrow Storm and I go to fly to Nashville. Then we stay in Knoxville. Then we're in Bristol for a couple days. Then we fly back on Sunday night. Go back to Calgary, and then I go right to Winnipeg. I'll be in Winnipeg later Sunday night. Then I'm there for 2 days, home for a couple days. Then the podcast comes out on Wednesday. Got a couple meetings that day. Then Thursday I go to Lethbridge, come back home Saturday night after Lethbridge PBR is done. Then we go right to St. Paul on the Sunday, so home for 1 night and gone again. Then I'm not back till we're doing all that trip. Wacey, you're coming along, do some sales with me, and we're gonna be in the Northeast. And then we go to Drayton and Edson and to Grand Prairie. Then you fly back, and then I do another few more days on the road. I do Grand Prairie, and then I'll be back on the 3rd or 4th or 5th of October or something. So, then I'm home for a little bit. I'll do some day trips. And then we got Medicine Hat. Then after Medicine Hat, we fly to LA the day after, and then we have a weekend off, the 20th, 22nd kind of weekend. Then Saskatoon the week after that. Then CFR. Then Edmonton. Then another couple weeks off. Then Vegas. So she's game on now.
It's game on. The PBR Canadian Cup Series is back.
It is. It's not the Canadian Cup Series. It's the Canada Cup Series, actually.
Canada Cup Series.
Yeah.
Canadian Canada.
Yeah. It's Canada Cup.
Anyways, the cup is back.
I think there was supposed to be a cup. I don't know if I've seen it yet. Isn't there supposed to be a trophy? I haven't seen that yet.
Cover Truck won a trophy last year.
Did he win a trophy? Yeah, it's on
Yeah,
the
I'm
thing
pretty sure
here.
he did.
No, it's not
Yeah,
there. I
he
don't see it.
but he didn't hold it like
They
the
made a
Stanley
trophy,
Cup.
didn't they? I think they made a trophy.
Yeah,
I
there
don't know
was
if I've
one
seen it.
there. I'm pretty sure there was. But
Yeah.
anyways, yeah,
So,
it's kind of cool,
man,
and
hey,
it seems to be like a
speaking
tight
of
race
that,
in the standings heading into it.
yeah, good call. Let's look at that because I think I gotta say, Logan Beaver has had a hell of a year so far.
Very
as far
impressive,
as,
man.
Yeah, as far as PBR Canada goes, and as far as the team series goes, I haven't seen it because we can't watch it here. Thanks a lot, Chad Blankenship. We can't watch PBR Canada up here. He had a good answer, but I forget what it was about. But anyways, holy, Dusty Golden's been to 2 events and he's 22nd in Canada. That's kind of wild. Weston Davidson's
make it happen when you're there.
been to 12 and he's 24th. I think they take the top 20. But anyways, Jared Parsonage looks like he's gonna make the NFR. He's getting right in there. Cole Ashbrocker had a good week too. He should be making the finals now in the bronc ride. We might have 6 Canadian bronc riders in the NFR this year, which is crazy talk.
Deadly, yeah, that's awesome.
Pretty wild.
And there's still a few big rodeos left. Like Edmonton's a tour rodeo now. There's Hannah and stuff, and what's Pendleton's on right now. So I mean, those guys can still win a ton of money here in the next few weeks.
Yeah,
before the end of the season,
pretty wild.
So.
Interesting looking at the
standings. And one thing to account too for that I think we haven't really discussed is Sage is still like in the top 15 in the world. So Jared technically rolls up a spot. Yeah, Jared would roll up a spot. Yeah,
correct. Yeah, so there's a little bit more wiggle room there. A little more wiggle room there.
I totally didn't even think of that, but anyways.
Yeah. So good for those guys, and man, it's pretty wild to look at these standings. Actually, there's only a few guys that really have been to 10 events or more. There's like a few that have been to a ton. Chad Hartman's or Logan Beaver's been in the most. He's been to 33 events and he's first in the standings. He's ahead of Dakota Butter by 10.5 points. Won over $40,000. PBR Canada standings. He's doing good at Dakota Butter, Brock Radford, Blake Smith, Aaron Roy, all in the top 5. So it's looking good for those guys.
And those guys aren't too far out of it either.
No, not at all. No, everybody's within 100 points.
Going to be quite the race to Edmonton here to see who ends up being the Canadian champ. My money's on Dakota, as it always is, but I think it's going to be a pretty interesting race.
You're picking Dakota?
Yeah,
man,
he's heated up, man.
I would be glad to see a guy like Brock win this one.
Yeah,
or
totally.
It'd be pretty crazy if Aaron Roy won one, or not won one, but like won his 4th. That'd be pretty crazy too. That's a definite possibility. So
for sure, you can never count Aaron out, man. You still got it, that old boy.
Yeah, we'll see what goes down there. But man, speaking of that, like interesting to see like who's been to what events this year. There's been a ton of PBR Canada events. I don't think there's been a 33. I don't think Logan's been to all of them, but maybe he has. I don't know. But that's a ton of events to get to. Aaron's been to 28. Chad Hartman's been to 28 events as well. So Logan's, put the work in, put the time in, and attempted 57 bulls ridden 24, which is kind of wild too.
Pretty good.
But then you look at
he's been to 21 Canadian rodeos too.
Oh geez. So he's going. He's hustling. He's gonna make the CFR too. I don't even know that.
He's 14th right now, but he's
really?
close. But they haven't updated the standings in like 3 weeks, so who knows where he's really at? Because he did well, I think, in Armstrong.
Oh, they updated it today. Posted September 14th. The rodeo was over. The long weekend was over. What, on the 5th? So 11 days later, we have updated standings. That's impressive. Wow.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so Logan's he's knocking on the door. There's still a chance, but he could make both here.
Huh. Geez, Jared Parsons, 57,000. It's impressive. Yeah, anyways, CFR is coming up. That's good to see. PBR Canada finals. Tune in, folks. If you're not, I guess if you're from America, you just got to watch the highlights on YouTube. If they're on YouTube, I guess. But anyways, or see it on the social medias. But what else? So you're picking Dakota. I'm gonna pick Brock for PBR Canada. That's my guess.
Sweet. Yeah.
But anyways, not a lot of guys going to a ton of events, and it brings me to my next point. JB Mooney had a post he put out, which I thought was bullshit at first.
Post, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was bullshit at first. I saw somebody share it like as someone else, and I was like, I can't see this on his Instagram. But then I went and found his what did I see? Well, I didn't went. I looked for it, and I thought it was bullshit, and I was like, oh, this doesn't look right. And then I went and looked, or I saw it come up. I was like, oh shit, it was actually him this one. And I was like, that's kind
Yeah.
of shitty, man. Like, what are you up to? And he's a guy we've had on the show, and he would say that, and I would probably agree with him at the time. But then I got thinking about this more and see this, and I'm like, I don't know if this is really legit, guys. Like, what are you trying to prove here? Like, here it is. Oh, I just see it. It's coming up again on here. Cody Nance, you can say that again. The champ, JB Mooney, speaking the truth. There ain't no telling how many practice bowl I've been on. Once got in 24 in one day without even taking a break. This is Cody Nance saying this. So this is JB Mooney putting this post out, and yeah, it is going crazy. Here you go. For all those who call themselves bull riders, what happened to practice? What happened to English? Went to Toro Loco last night. $1,000 added cash, $1 fees, and one guy showed up. The way things are lining up, bull riding is going downhill. Stock contractors can't get bulls buck because no one wants to practice anymore. And if you call someone, the first question is how much you're going to pay us to get on. If you're flat broke, two options: get a job or ride better. And the only way to ride better is to practice. You can go to the gym every day and be in the best shape and still not ride a stick horse to water if you don't practice. And when I say practice, I mean get on bulls. Everyone now wants to say they're a bull rider until it's time to nod your head. Bull riding is a short career, and you got to take advantage of it anytime you can. And and for all the guys that sit at home because they're sore, not 100% healthy, that ship sailed when you started riding. Again, you have two options: one, grow some balls; two, eat a spoonful of concrete and harden the fuck up. If you want to be a world champion, you have to be willing to get on more, practice more, and be tougher than anyone else. My lesson for the day is over. JB Mooney, mic drop. Okay.
Damn.
Okay.
Lots to unpack there.
There's a lot to say. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to reference this thing once again. But what I'm thinking, my main point, counterpoint here to JB's rant is that the investment, and we've talked about this before, Wacey, you and I have been over this, but the investment on the bull side of things is far weighed the investment on the rider side in the last, probably 20 years, honestly. And I think, JB's saying something, but it's kind of almost, I don't want to say it's too late, but it's kind of almost, I don't want to say it's really irrelevant, but it's kind of like, it's a little bit out of what would you say, Wace? Like out of context a little bit. Cause it's like, I don't think it's as being like, he's trying to say like, harden the fuck up. Like, no, it's like bull riding. Number one, bull riding is fucking dangerous. You can die in practice or you can get hurt really fucking bad in practice riding a bull. But number two, there were lots of guys that would offer practice on good bulls, but a lot of the practice now is on fucking futurity calves that I'm not going to learn anything on.
There's not many guys having practice bulls around. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause the practice bulls, the ones that I think are needed for our sport to go the right way, you can't even feed them because they're not worth anything because nobody's going to buy them because they're not that good. So they're hardly worth keeping around. But if you don't have those ones, the riders aren't going to learn how to ride because they're going to be getting on the fucking hard ones. And yeah, you can get on a hard one and call it practice, but like if someone never ever gets any confidence and gets a couple rides down on an easier bull, for me, it was the high school rodeos. Honestly, that's where I fucking figured it out, or the steer riding where I could ride the lopers around and kind of get a feel for what the hell it's like. If a guy doesn't have the feeling for what it's like at the low level, they're never going to be able to catch up to a good fast bull. So, so JB, I get what you're saying that people don't want to practice, but I think that there needs to be, well, I think it goes down a lot of levels. We got to have some youth engagement in a bigger way, in a more organized way, probably. I don't know if getting on bareback horses with a hockey helmet and getting drug around and smashed up and down in the mini Bronx is the way to go. But like hockey and baseball and soccer and football all have a lower division where somebody can go and not get killed off and they can learn the fundamentals. And there's an organized kind of way to do it where rodeo and, the junior high rodeos, maybe sheep riding is, I think, kind of irrelevant too. But there's no amateur lower end sport that helps build it. And like we talked about last week, Wace, you're in Cochrane and there's nobody there. They had like one bull rider all weekend in Cochrane.
Yeah, and that's the place those guys need to go. Like I
Yeah.
feel it's less, there's more like guys not practicing the right way and skipping
Yeah.
steps, like to get, like they're rushing to get to the PBR, they're rushing to get to pro rodeo, and they're killing themselves off. Whereas if you follow the steps and you work your way up the ladder, you're more likely to be successful because you're getting on lower level bulls, obviously at the amateur rodeos, and you're kind of able to build that confidence up. But if you don't practice the right way, your practice that you're doing isn't going to give you any value either, right? Like it's
Hmm.
getting your head drove in the dirt every time you get on a bull is not going to do anything for you.
One of the guys that's done this the best in the recent years, I would say, had the resources to do it, as in the Bulls, and could afford to keep them around, maybe, or maybe not a matter of can afford to, but had the right ones and chose to keep them, was Tannerino. You know, family has bulls and could handpick the
Mm-hmm.
ones that he wants to keep and wants to get on. And that guy, he took it slow, and we were always wondering like, where's he at? Where's he at? When's he coming to ride bulls? And then all of a sudden he jumps on and he's good. But he's had the proper practice and he has the
Mm-hmm.
proper animals to practice on. And yeah, that guy is practicing, but he's getting on very, very select bulls that he knows are going to be safe and, pretty tame, I would guess. Um,
Yeah.
and he knows livestock enough to know what's right and wrong. And you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's as much practice. I think it's much like, here's one example. So for me, I remember getting on practice one time, and it was like, we went to Elnora for a thing for Lauren High, and they were all futurity calves. And like, that's not fucking, I'm sorry, but that's not fucking practice.
It's not practice.
Like, you can
No.
paint it as
That's
practice.
just getting
Like,
rider. That's getting rider trips in your bulls is
yeah.
what it's doing. It's
Like,
not
I like,
practice for the guys.
and I'm not crap. Like, I'm not trying to be offensive here. I'm just saying, like, that for me at the time, like, I was like 17, and they were looking to buck these bulls, and I think somebody won a bunch of money on the futurity side, but like that wasn't really practice for me. Like, those bulls are way too good for what I needed. Like, I needed to go to, I don't even know where I got on. I know I did, but I'm not remembering right now, like, where I went and got on the best practice. But like, honestly, where it would probably was Gary LeFew's place. Like, that guy knows the difference, and
Oh
he
man, that guy knows how to
doesn't try to kill
practice.
anybody. He had good practice bulls, and I made a couple of really good rides there. Like, I rode the drop barrel a couple times, and then step out and make a couple like 80-some point rides, like nothing, because they were the right bulls. So I'm kind of rambling on here, but I think it's proper practice. So JB, I hear what you're saying, but I
Yeah.
think it's proper practice, and I think it's not practicing on the futurity calves. So I agree with you in partially, but I think it needs to be the proper practice. And I don't know if there needs to be like some investment on the side of somebody. Like, I don't know if Wacey, if we need to sponsor some practice bulls to live and eat somewhere where
In the
some guys
backyard
can,
at 4620.
yeah, where the guys can have some tame ones to get on here and there. But like, um,
Yeah.
I think it's like you said, Wacey, it's proper practice and it's those proper steps. But we even offered a guy, he said he wanted to learn bull riding, where to go to schools. And I was like, hey, Wacey and I'll teach you. But then he just ghosted us. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I think too, you can't devalue the stuff outside the arena, like the drop barrel
Oh yeah,
practice and being in
I
the gym and
agree.
stuff like that too. Especially at this day and age, you have to be an athlete and be at that level. Like, especially if you want to ride those good bulls. Like look at a guy like Jose. Like that guy's an athlete and he puts the work in
Yes,
outside the arena. So
100%.
I think there's a lot of elements that go into it, but you need to practice the right way because you don't even like look at Sidney Crosby or your Connor McDavid's or your whatever your LeBron James, your top athletes out there. They're not just practicing in a game all the time. Like they're doing game situations, they're practicing in like controlled environments and doing it the right way rather than just going out and playing games and shooting from the hip all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. 100%. Um, okay, where are we at here? Um, we better wrap this part up. But what I want, it's something that I wish we would have talked to Sage about, but I never thought about it at the time. But
Yeah, I guess now that's a topic of conversation, but
yeah,
we'll be able to bring it up with other guys over time. But yeah, it's
yeah.
one of those things where, yeah, go practice the right way if you want to be successful for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. My name is Ted Stovin. He's Wacey Anderson. We'll be back with our interview with Mr. Sage Kimzey right after this.
Here comes the #1 bull rider in the world, 6-time world champion Sage Kimzey. Greeley Hatwork centerfold from Surrey Championship Rodeo. Come on, everybody, hands and feet, hands and feet. He's trying to beat Donnie Gay with 8 world championships. Sage has 6. He can win his 7th right now.
Welcome back to the program. We're back with our guest this week. He's a 7-time champion of the world in the bull riding. He's got a couple more to go, we're figuring. But Sage Kimzey, thanks for joining us this morning. It's coffee time all across North America for the crew. Thanks for being on the show.
It's definitely coffee time. But yeah, thanks for having me on.
Doesn't need much more of an introduction than that, hey Teddy.
I don't think so. What 7 times? What else do you need to know right now?
That's about it.
Okay, so there's a sponsor you have that's is it 7X Ranches or what was it again?
Yeah, it was 7X Ranches. I'm not with them anymore, but yeah, I did think that was pretty funny.
So now we should find the 8X Ranch.
Yeah.
Get you for next season.
8, 9,
I have
10.
to get Donnie to pick me up.
So wait, is that what he called his ranch? Is 8 time?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Even
really?
like whenever he had all his bucking bulls and everything, like they had an 8X on their hip.
Oh,
No
no way.
Yeah.
Okay, Sadie, before we get going too far here, I gotta ask, how are you doing? How's the family? How's the new baby? Like, tell us how things are going. It's been kind of a crazy year, hasn't it?
It's been a really crazy year, but everything's really good, man. I mean, obviously, I'm ready to get out of the sling and all of that, but Mr. Steele's just growing like a little weed, and that's been the silver lining for this year is getting to be home with the family and getting to see him kind of grow up. He's just about ready to get to crawling, and I haven't had to miss anything all year long. So that's been kind of, like I said, kind of a silver lining and everything.
Well,
That's a pretty big deal for rodeo guys. Like to catch those moments. A lot of guys who have new kids and stuff don't get to see that. Especially with you, you're on the road quite a bit. You do miss a few of those early on moments. So that's pretty cool to be able to catch those as he's growing, like you say.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have been missing. I mean, all of it. You know what I mean? I'm sure Alexis and him would have came out a little bit, but yeah, as far as just really getting to spend time and not really have anything to go do, it's not like we ever get to really just hang out at the house like I've been doing. The circumstances aren't the best, but yeah, it's been really nice just getting to spend time with my family.
Tell us what all happened exactly if you want to get into it, because it's quite the, like, Alexis was in the hospital for quite a while. Like it was bad go there for a while.
Yeah, it was. So let's see, I'll try to get this down into like a semi-condensed story. So Alexis was super swollen. Well, back up. So 4th of July run last year. A lot of people have probably heard the story, but anyway, Alexis texted me a few times, and we're driving through the middle of Wyoming, no service, blah, blah, blah. Hey, call me when you get a chance. Call me when you get a chance. She sends me like 3 texts. And which, like, she never does, you know what I mean? And I was like, oh my Lord, what is wrong at the house? It's 4th of July, blah, blah. And anyway, that was when she found out that we were pregnant, expecting a child. Okay, cool. Fast forward, she gets really, really swollen right about the 7-month mark. And I mean, it was one of those deals, I guess it's right around the 6-month mark. And one of those deals, like, dude, I was so clueless about pregnancy and kids and like all the things, right? Just never have known anything about it. And yeah, long story short, she gets bad swollen and anyway, has some complications. Yeah, like 2 months early. So we rushed her into the hospital, and they tell her she has preeclampsia, which is basically where the placenta and the mom just like go to war, and I guess the placenta never loses. So at that point, they were juggling mom and baby's health, basically.
Damn.
And trying to figure out, like, the best time to take her back to induce her to where, like, to have the child. All of which, like, this would have been, we probably would have went in January like 20th. So, and I mean, not that it was a big deal at all, but all of which, like, rodeo is like kicking off. I was literally going to leave the next day. Like, luckily I was home when it all happened. And yeah, long story short, like, we stay in the hospital for 4 or 5 days, and finally, like, over the course of like those few days leading up to before the birth of our son, she put on like 40 pounds of just like water retention and swelling. And like literally it was just like she was so just swollen. And I felt so bad for her. But um yeah, it was wild, man. Like she was just blowing up, and finally they came in and they were like, hey, for your health and the health of the baby, like we think this needs to happen like in the morning. And I'm like, okay. She had a great team of doctors and everything, great nurses. So like that put our minds at ease, but it was a lot for especially for the first child, like going from absolutely zero knowledge of it to that. But honestly, it was probably better that it was our first child, because like we had no idea what to expect.
Mhm.
So both of us were just like, oh, okay, like, they're confident everything's going to be okay. So I'm sure it will be cool. Like, let's just go.
Yeah, I guess if it had been like the second time around, it could have been a little sketchy for some folks. Had it
Yeah.
been like bit of the complications wise.
Yeah, like it was super scary. And that was the one thing, like, I don't really know. And she said it afterwards that, like, I don't really know that she knew, like, how scary everything was, because, like, everybody kind of kept her off her phone. And, it was just all a bunch of positive affirmations the whole time. So, yeah, I don't know that she kind of knew, like, how scary everything was, which was probably for the best.
And everybody's happy and healthy now. We're doing well.
Yeah, everybody's good now. And even like little Mr. Steele, he didn't he came at like, yeah, I guess it was right at 7 weeks early, and like never had to have any assistance, like with breathing, eating, nothing. Like he just came out and was just a little rock star. Alexis bounced back. So yeah, everybody's good, happy, healthy, and at home.
And you had quite the winter too. Like after this, right? Like you won 115,000 just between then and like the first part of June. Like pretty impressive first part of the year. You're still fifth in the world, and you haven't ridden in like at least 2 or 3 months now.
Yeah, it was like the most prosperous time of rodeo probably in my career for sure. I mentioned that the rodeo season was started kind of like as this was all happening. So the night we went into the hospital, Fort Worth Extreme Bulls was the next day, which, like, obviously, it's a big Division I Extreme Bulls for us. But like I was definitely not going to miss the birth of our son, so it was just kind of a non-negotiable that I was going to stay in the hospital down there. But yeah, missed Denver. Had our son on the 25th, and I was up at Fort Worth on like the I don't even know, like right at around the 30th, I guess. We were home for several days, I guess, maybe even later than that. But anyway, we were home for about a week. Went up to Fort Worth, kind of got everything, settled down at the house. Went up to Fort Worth, won Fort Worth, and yeah, it was kind of all downhill from there. It was it was a pretty good couple months.
Well, and then win San Antonio, and then I think was it 160 seconds of work? So that's like, is that what you said? 160 seconds to win like 100 some thousand? It's pretty.
Yeah,
pretty
it wasn't much, that's for sure.
Not too bad.
It was pretty
all
crazy.
in Texas?
I mean, I think I've only been to, like, I think my rodeo count's only at 11 this year. So
Holy.
yeah.
But you're not going to be able to go to Vegas, or will you still be able to make it there? What's the story? It's out. You're out for the year, like, and it's August. You still in a sling. Like, can you come back for the finals, or is it you're?
No, I'll be out. They said it takes anywhere from 6 to 8 months to heal the shoulder up. And this is kind of like the last fix for the shoulder. So it's like they don't really have another way to fix it. So if this doesn't work, it's kind of like the end of the career. So it's one of those things that, like, if I'm not going to rush it, if they tell me it takes anywhere from 6 to 8 months, and if it leans more towards the 8 months part, it is what it is,
Well, and with the way the season is right now too, you may have won 100 grand early on, but like Stetson's got like 260,000 when you'd have to have a heck of a finals, and he'd have to have a bad finals for you even to have a chance. not really
Yeah,
worth
no,
it, worth
sure.
even trying, is it?
Well, and even, I mean, at the end of the day, a gold buckle would be nice, but being able to pick up my son or, go play catch with him out in the yard is way more important than a gold buckle. So,
Yeah.
And you still have
it
more
is what it
career
is.
past this too, right? Like you're only 28. You still have a few really good years left in your however many you want to have. So I mean, there's no sense in pushing it if you don't have to.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Have you found since you've had your son that you're kind of there's some new motivation in your life on the competition side of things? You're competing for more than just yourself, and kind of having steel around kind of gets you the fire under you a little more.
Oh, for sure. Like life means a lot more and means way different things now than what it ever has. Yeah, it's crazy. I've always tried to like to do the right thing and to treat people the way I'd want to be treated and this and that and you never really realize like kind of why. I guess the why never was there for me. It was just that was just how I was going to do it. Um, but yeah, man, the first time I looked at him, I was like, oh, I understand the why now.
And then just go win 115,000 in 11 rodeos.
Yeah, it
Uh,
was. It made it real easy to like really get focused too because I mean, obviously I wasn't sleeping. I didn't do any of that, but it was one of those things that like if I was gonna leave him, I was gonna win. Period. You know
mhm.
what I mean?
And do you think that you'll stop at one kid, or is there more on the way, or what's the plan there?
I mean, we'll probably have some more for sure. I don't know exactly when and what the time frame will be on that, but I know Alexis wants a little girl, and so hopefully we can. Yeah, we'll definitely have more kids.
I wanted to ask. There's a lot of ways we can go with this stage, but I guess like being at 7 now, and getting to 10 was 10 world titles, 10 gold buckles was something that's been on your radar for a long time. There's been a little bit of um the most you've been hurt has been the last couple years, right? And you've this being having to sit out this year, and I mean, I don't know what I'm trying to get at, but like getting to 10 didn't look like it was that crazy as a little while ago, but now you're getting into, being 28, you got probably what, like, I don't know how many more years, like you got a long time you can ride for, but this is, to get 10, it's going to be a pretty incredible feat to be able to do that. So I'm just curious what it looks like next little while. What are you thinking?
Yeah, no, I mean it's a lofty goal, and that's even with the extreme success I had, from 2014 to now. Like it bottom line, each one gets harder. That's just
Mhm.
kind of the nature of the thing. Um, my body for a lot of years, I neglected just to go get those gold buckles. And not so much neglected. Like I take really good care of my body, but a lot of people don't really know like how kind of banged and bruised my body was. Like I said, like my shoulder's been torn up since high school. I haven't had a UCL ligament in my elbow for 4 or 5 years. Don't
And
have a PCL in my right knee. You know what I mean? Like there's just a lot of like pretty significant injuries that have just kind of been put on the back burner, strictly just for the goal of winning the gold buckles.
so did you get all that stuff fixed now, or are those pieces still missing?
Yeah, so I'm not going to touch the PCL. Unlucky on it's my right elbow that needs the UCL replaced. And I definitely need one arm to be able to drink my coffee and do podcasts. So it's I don't really know the recovery time on it's between 4 to 6 months. On the shoulder it's 6 to 8, so it'll match up pretty well. Like whenever I get out of my sling and start going with it, so I don't know if I'm going to have the elbow operated on yet or not. That's still kind of to be seen.
Does it
What
affect you? Does it affect your riding?
Yes and no. Like it definitely has changed the way that I ride bulls. And like I have to wear a brace whenever I'm riding. But I don't know. I think that's kind of the one big thing that like your average rodeo fan in person wouldn't know, is like each time, like we all go through pretty significant injuries, but it's like every time you go through something, your style has to change a little bit. And, like I've been protecting a shoulder, elbow, and a knee for a while now. And it's to do that, it makes it more difficult. I don't know that it changes so much, but it definitely makes it harder.
What is the UCL? I've never even heard of that part of a person's body in the elbow. That's a new one to me.
It's like the Tommy John surgery.
Oh wow.
Like the inside ligament of your elbow right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like the ACL for your elbow, basically.
Gee. So when you with your shoulder, was it dislocating a bunch too? I don't know the whole story there. Where was it blown apart, or was it like it's gonna be rotator cuff, labrum, like some of that stuff's all jammed up, but over years, like it'd be easy and as it happens, it's easier to dislocate it as you do it more too, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. So I tore it up in high school. I had a bull fall on me, and dislocate it forward. And anyway, like had to go to the hospital and get it put back in. Well, I never had a whole lot of problems with it leading up to this point. Like it always hurt. And it never was like a super stable joint. Like anything, like if I was like doing a bench press or even like a pull up or anything, like it would feel like an unstable joint. And I definitely like lost a lot of strength on the front side of my shoulder, but it was one of those things that like I could ride with. It didn't ever redislocate, like nothing like that. You've seen a lot of guys that like really battle with shoulders. Every time they get on it, it pops out. And like that never was me, but I always swore to myself that like if it ever did dislocate again, that I would go back in and have it fixed. Like I wasn't gonna just be the guy that like fought with a bad shoulder for years and years. So getting into it was at the American semifinals this year. Got on a really nice bull of HD Pages. Anyway, he came out and like he slammed me hard. And it was one of those things immediately, like I've separated my AC joint in both of my shoulders quite a bit. And I thought that's what happened. And like, it's very painful whenever that happens, but it's something that you can't really like damage anymore or do anything to. So I get slammed there, have them look at it at Sports Med the next day. And then, so I was going to Houston the next week. Houston's got, a really good sports medicine staff down there, a bunch of imaging and stuff. So anyway, I told my wife, Alexis, I was like, well, if this thing doesn't get any better, I'll just get x-rays down at Houston and kind of see what's wrong with it. She's like, okay, fair enough. Well, if anything, it got worse the whole time, like the week off of the American leading to Houston. And so go down to Houston, get the x-rays done. And the x-rays show that I've got a broken collarbone, but it's like, it was like the jankiest, nastiest break out here by the end. And they were like, man, this isn't a fresh break. Like you can see it all healing and stuff. They're like, this break happened a long time ago. It just didn't heal correctly. I was like, oh, great. Long story short, went to several specialists. I won in Austin. Went to several specialists and they're like, yeah, man, like your shoulder's definitely, it's an unstable joint. Sports Med had me rigged up in a Soli to where it was like a brace that was helping my shoulder stay in socket. Fast forward to Weatherford, I get on this kind of wild low bull that was just a little out of line. And really kind of had to lean back one jump. And as soon as I like kind of windmilled my free arm one time, it came out when I was on him. Hit the ground, got up, and like it rolled back in by the time I'd even got over to the Sports Med trailer.
Damn.
But that was just when I knew. I was like, well, it came out, so season's over.
How hard was it to make that call and to realize you had to take the season off? I mean, that's got to take a toll on a guy's mental health, especially after the spring you've had.
Yeah, honestly, it wasn't that hard, strictly because of the birth of my son. Without him, it would have been pretty difficult for sure. But that was it was kind of one of those things. It was like, man, it's all in God's plan, and just take a step back and realize that, as much as we all love rodeo and, how important, I mean, it's been the biggest part of my life for, you know, my whole life pretty much. But like at the end of the day, spending time with him is more important to me than anything at this point, especially in these, really early stages of his life. So it wasn't near as bad as what it probably would have been.
And so have you found other ways to kind of keep yourself busy here now, like tinkering away at kind of some other stuff you've been meaning to get to, or trying some new things while you've been healing up?
Yeah, starting to now. The PBR, it was really great that the PBR called me to do a little bit of the commentating. And I don't know, how many events I'll do or whatever, but that was kind of a fun new twist, because I've never done anything like that. Whenever they called, I was like, well, I haven't done it before. I think I probably would be good at it. Like I know how to talk bull riding, so. And but no, that's been really fun. And yeah, I've got a few other things in the works that like you said, just really haven't had the time to do before. And so yeah, it's trying to keep myself busy for sure.
That's one of the things I had written down was to ask about the PBR and the teams and being part of the broadcast. We can't watch that stuff up here at this point. We don't have we can't watch it. So
it's outlawed up here.
Yeah, it's outlawed. We're banned up here. So, but yeah, let's talk about that. Talk about teams working with Flint and Kate and Matt West as well. The crew there, like, talk about those events a little bit. And I know we can get further into the PRCA PBR kind of thing, but you've always been friends with those guys. Not like that. There's like this enemy of the PBR because you're focused on the PRCA side of things. Like, those guys want to include you.
It's the relationship between the PRCA and the PBR has gotten a lot better in the past, probably a decade. And yeah, like I feel like used to there was some animosity between associations, but anymore it's just not that way, man. And I thought it was really like big of the PBR, because like you said, like it's one of those things that, I mean, bottom line, like I've just had a different career choice than, the PBR thing, but it's not one of those things like you'll never hear me, go out and bash the PBR. Like what they've done for the Western sports world is nothing short of incredible. It just wasn't where, like, my dreams and goals really aligned, and they understand that. But to get the call to go over there and do the commentary, I thought it was really, really cool of them. Yeah, it's been fun. It's been different, man. Like I said, I have no experience doing it whatsoever, but it's been fun. And as you mentioned, the team, they're an amazing group of people. Like they have really made it easy on me.
How would you compare your pre-broadcast nerves to getting on a bull?
The pre-broadcasts were way worse, because getting on a bull, I'm the only one that it affects, right? And it just, if I perform poorly, then, like I said, I'm the only one that it affects. But they had me chilled out pretty good. Like Nashville was the first event, and like I said, Matt and Kate, all of them are just, they're true professionals. So,
what was the best piece of advice before your first broadcast that one of those folks gave you? Or even, I guess, even your wife probably had some good advice for you too, heading into that stuff.
Yeah, she did for sure. I think honestly, the biggest thing that just calmed me down, Matt West was just like, Sage, just be you. He said, that's all you have to do. Just be you. He's like, it'll show through and you'll do great. Just calm down and just be you. And I was like, easy for you to say, but all right. All right.
What do you like most about that side of things, though? Is it, and I mean, like, they kind of changed a lot of things with the way the broadcast works, and like you guys are partially in the arena too a little bit with the TV thing, which never really happened before. So like they're like a lot of that is changing. It's a bit of a different setup now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a wild setup for sure. And I mean, especially, I guess it's not that that crazy for me because I didn't really like understand or know how it usually is. So
Same thing
it's
with
just
the
like
baby.
the normal part for me. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, it's cool, man. And like the team's concept is really cool. I mean, especially this being the inaugural year. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of things that, you know, they're working through, but it's been really cool. And I think it's hard to say exactly like what it's gonna turn into, especially like I said in its inaugural year. But it really could be the future of bull riding. Like it has that upside, that chance. So yeah, it's exciting.
Why do you think it might work?
Strictly because it's, well, first off, because like sports teams just work in general. But that's the main thing for me is there's never really been like a system for a young bull rider to go from high school standout to top tier professional. And with this team series, they're kind of giving that because you have, you know, retired coaches that have been there, done it, seen it, can help you with not only, like I was talking to Jerome Davis and his wife at Nashville, and she was just like, the thing is, Sage, like, you know, this isn't just us, you know, well, drop your elbow and ride this bull. Like, you know, these coaches are put in a position to really help these kids' lives. And that's the part that I really love about it. Like, yeah, it's awesome to watch, you know, Jose and Dalen make 90-point bull rides and do all that. But like the effect that it could have on a lot of these young kids' lives moving forward, I think that's the biggest like upside and the most exciting part of it for me.
To me,
I
it
think
seems like it's the PBRs or like bull rodeo or bull riding's first big investment into the rider side of things. There's been a big investment on the bull side of things, but it's now really good to see some emphasis put on developing our riders and kind of getting everybody up to par. Because there's been a big gap over the last few years when it comes to bulls versus riders.
Well, at the end of the day, whether that be strictly just benefits, whether that be, you know, X amount of dollars to show up at each event, or like the fact that there's no guarantees in professional bull riding, just across the board is crazy. And that's the teams league is the first one to kind of step up and do that in some way. And I know like a lot of the teams have their own different ways of going about it, but that's exciting. And that's it, as a young bull rider, for the first time ever, you can step out as, you know, and sign on with one of these teams and have at least a little bit of a guarantee of, you know, well, hey, like, you know, if I break my leg tomorrow, like everything is going to be okay for this fall. You know what I mean? And no bull riders think about it that way. But at the end of the day, like, it's a dangerous sport. You know what I mean? And it's cool to have organizations that could step up and stand behind you, you know, in downtime. I mean, we have a little bit of that with, you know, the Justin Cowboy Crisis Fund does an amazing job for the PRCA people. But it's still, it's different, you know, with relief funds, and the Western Sports Foundation does as well. It's different like that though than being on a team, you know.
Well, it's even the teammate side of things. Like we have two young Canadian guys who are competing with the Austin Gamblers, and they get to ride alongside Jose. Like that's a huge deal for some, like you said, to those young guys who are just coming up the ranks. Like being able to be around those top dogs and guys who are at the highest level, like that can really change the person's career direction.
Yeah, I mean, you take Griffin, and like Griffin's life will forever be changed in this 4 months of him being on the Austin Gamblers. Whether he gets cut by him, whether he's the league MVP, like whatever, like this 4 months is going to change his life for the better, period. And that's cool.
But it's going to change his life because he gets to be around
Yeah.
a guy like Jose and the, you know, have a coach and have a little bit of backing. And I overheard Blake Smith telling the guys that the team is paying their turnout fines if they got to miss a touring pro or a challenger event to go to these teams events. But I think, further to that point, Sage, having the team changes the marketing aspect of the sport drastically, because not only are the riders and the bulls being marketed now, but you have a team to market and something, it's easier for the average fan to follow. I think that's a big part of what they're working on with this as well.
Oh, I think it's huge. I mean, this is the first time that there's going to be home teams. You know what I mean? And that's been kind of cool to kind of watch play out. And especially going to the live events, it's been really cool seeing the support, because like, you go to Nashville and like the Nashville Stampede are the team that they're the home team. You know what I mean? And that's really cool, because it's one of those things. Even if you have, I don't think it affects like your hardcore fans very much, but it definitely affects your casual fans that might come out to the bull riding on, a Saturday night, and you get to watch them, the Nashville Stampede. Like, it ended up being, it was just set up perfectly. But like Silvano Alves had the walk-off win for Nashville. I mean, Lemmy did it twice this week for Austin, in front of his home crowd. And it was just, it's cool to see the home crowd, because like I said, I think it really affects, it can make lifelong fans out of, your casual bull riding fans. And I think that's really cool.
It's cool to see the Global Cup model, like in a sense, like work really well. Like, like you've competed at the Global Cups, you've been around it, and you see how crazy those things get. Like, now having it at kind of a different level with having individual teams, like you say, somebody from Nashville never been to a bull riding can roll up to the bull riding and like, oh, there's a Nashville team. Like, I'm a fan for life now.
Yeah, for sure.
What about somebody was booing somebody the other day? I didn't hear the full story, but who was getting booed by one of the home crowds?
I don't know, honestly.
Oh,
it must have been, yeah, I have my headset on. I didn't hear that, but
oh, okay. Okay. So on the last show, I put something out there because, being a hockey guy and like coaches get fired here and there, and there's like shakeups in the league and everything. I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna throw it out there. I bet JW Hart's the first coach to get fired for the Kansas City Outlaws in the league. I didn't want to throw that out there, and then they kind of came back and they're kind of like middle of the road, but I was just throwing some stuff out there just to mess around a little bit. But like, there's some stuff like that we're gonna get to hear about, and then the other part of it is some of the contracts. Like, I'd be curious if we start hearing about some of the contracts. Like, I know I don't know when it happened, but Wacey, the NHL eventually had some publishing on the player contracts, and that allowed
it was back in like the 80s. They're like late 70s after like Bobby Orr got screwed over.
That was part of the change that took him from here to here as far as the athlete pay. So I'd be curious on some of that, but I want to hear your take on some of that as well. I guess I'm not trying to be negative. I just want to throw some controversy out there a little bit on our
side. The transactional side of it, which is kind of
fun. Yeah, no, it is. It's I mean, I'm a guy. I'm always for the riders to be paid as much as possible, right? It's and it'll be interesting to see. Like, you hear that, I guess Jose signed a multi-year deal with his team, Kaiki signed a multi-year deal with his team, but you haven't heard much else other than that. So I don't really know kind of how all that back end is going, but definitely I think posting it all would be, like you said, it creates a level of a accountability, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, I think that'd be really cool, because it's cool too. And I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say, like, teams working with salary caps, like most sports and this and that. But I mean, how cool would that be? You know what I mean? Like, say each team sets aside, say $5 million for their riders that year, and or they have to spend $3 million every year in contracts, but they can't go over 5 or whatever it is. You know what I mean? It'd be really cool to kind of see that hit off that way. Because then the biggest thing for me, and like the biggest reason I would love to see that, is whenever your your 12-year-old little kid tells his mom that he wants to be a bull rider and wants to be a cowboy, she looks at those guaranteed contracts, and Jose is signing a guaranteed $1 million deal or whatever it is. Like, I have no idea, but Jose is signing that. It's like she can look at her son and be like, hey, like, if you want to do that, let's go do it. Let's dive in head first. You know what I mean? And do it, because it's a viable career choice, So yeah, it'd be super cool to kind of get the numbers. I will say, I don't know. I think it'll be a long time before it comes to that point. Because like, it's no different than the UFC, right? And that they definitely keep everything pretty quiet. I'll just put it that way.
Okay. So a couple more things I want to ask about. Why do you think that the teams series might not work? Or do you think it's like, I don't think it's a guarantee. Is there anything that's going the other way that makes you think it might not work? Or, I want to hear your take on that, or what they could do to improve possibly. Like, I know they're kind of your employer partially right now, so I don't want you to like give them too much trouble, but I wanted to ask.
Some constructive feedback.
Yeah. I would say probably like the number one thing that would worry me, like, as an outsider looking in, because, man, I really, like, I don't know a lot of the stuff that's going on. I know more than, your average person, but like, I'm not real privy to a bunch of the information. I would say the thing that, like, I would say is the biggest thing for, like, the biggest hurdle for them, would be to keep everybody happy. Because it's just that's a tough position, and you got a lot of people to please. But I would say that'd probably be the biggest thing, is like, obviously your team owners are going to have to be happy, because that's where a lot of the money is being generated from. Obviously, rule number one, like, keep your bull riders happy, because there's not very many top tier bull riders. Like, you really look at it, you look down the list, and there's, maybe 50 guys in the entire world that can ride rank bulls consistently. And it's just like, so your talent pool is broad, but it's very, very shallow. So the number one thing I would like to see is them, like, bend over backwards for the bull riders. And of course, like, I've got a jaded opinion of that too. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people to keep happy. Your contractors with your bulls. Obviously, all the production side of things. Like, I would say that's probably the number one thing, is with change, there's going to be some upset in those groups. And I would say it's the PBR's job to make everybody happy. And I would say that's probably going to be the biggest hurdle for them.
And then as far as the team series goes, a couple things I was thinking that might detract is, I think that the individual riders might have a little bit less less focus now, because they're marketing the teams further. So I think it's going to take a little bit away from those guys and their individual sponsors as far as the team side goes, because they're kind of, there's a bunch of different contracts now where a guy's riding for area. It used to be a Wrangler guy, or a guy is going, on a different team. And it's a little bit conflicting there. But then I think another major detraction here, which I don't know if it's been talked about a lot, but I think the bulls are going to be a little bit less. There's going to be a little bit less focus on the bulls now as well, because they can't have a team game end in a 0-0 tie, because that's about the worst thing you can probably have happen at the team level right now, where you have nobody rides a bull and 8 or 10 outs. Like, you can't sell that. So now you got to take a little bit off the, kind of take the top end off of those bulls, so that you're going to guarantee a ride. Because I don't care what score it is when you're in Nashville. Like, I'm just assuming, but I mean, anywhere that I go, if somebody rides a bull, that's always a higher energy level than if somebody gets bucked off. So, I mean, I think that those are just a couple takeaways I had anyways, but I wanted to, you're still going to have the league MVP, which Jose and Dalen are fighting out at the top right now. But like, a little bit of that's all going to change.
It's definitely a different feel for sure. Cause like you said, you're talking about, Jose and Dalen being, the last 3 world championships for the PBR. And, if I was to hazard a guess, they'd probably ride, 30 to 40% of their short round bulls. Jose might be a little higher than that, and Dalen as well, just because you get to draft your bull. But anyway, long story short, like they're riding, 40, 50% of the short round caliber bulls. And those are by far the best guys in the world. You know what I mean? So it does it. The bull power is a little different. I would love to see them bring in like these bull team competitions down here have gotten so popular, and I think it really runs a great parallel with the bull team and the rider team. Like it'd be a lot going on, and it would be kind of more of a quiet thing that they're doing, but like you could do a lot with the teams on the bull side of things too.
Huh. Never thought of it like that.
It can almost be like a sub competition between like you have like each team gets matched up with a bull team, and then you kind of have your head to head on the bull team side of things. And obviously you get bonus points if a guy rides your bull or something like that. There's ways to do it. It would add a lot of extra back end stuff, but it could be an element of it to kind of keep that emphasis on the bulls too. Because there's a lot of things you need to keep the focus on in bull riding to kind of help kind of expand the sport.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, a couple more things we got to get to. I don't know if we want to go over this way right now, but Sage, you were at the Canadian finals a couple years ago, and we're sitting in the dressing room before the perf or during the perf or something, and I looked at your spurs, the spurs you had on, and I remember you telling me the story about the Kelly spurs. They were a really unique unique set, and I hadn't really seen much like them before. Spurs are pretty, I don't know what you'd say, pretty normal, but those ones kind of stood out to me. And then you had a pretty crazy story about them that I thought was pretty neat.
Yeah. I bought them. They're a set of Roys.
Roy, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. I bought them in high school, man. I always wanted a set. And to be honest, I don't know a whole lot about them. I just know that they're the strongest, best bull riding spur ever made. And yeah, so whenever I learned about them probably junior high or maybe like freshman year of high school, and like just went on the lookout. And as soon as I found a pair that I was going to buy it, definitely pulled the trigger on them.
But they cost you like $2,500 and you were in high school. $2,500.
Yeah, it was a lot of money, and it was, I mean, at that point, like I didn't really have, $2,500 to just go blow, but it was one of those things. Like I said, I think it probably helped because my dad was a bit and spur collector for forever. So I saw the value, I guess, more than your average bull rider would just going through it. But that's honestly probably the best purchase I ever made, because they like getting in the chute, like you see guys get their spurs squished all the time, just one like gator rolling in there or leaning on you or whatever. And like knock on wood, like I just don't have to worry about that because my spurs don't bend.
So do you know what they're made out of? Like, are they something different? Like they look like a stainless steel.
Yeah, some really high quality stainless. But if I was guessing, you probably can't get that good of metal like nowadays with all of the regulation stuff, would be my guess, but I don't know.
So those are like, how old are those spurs now? And you've used them your entire career too. So you've got 10, 15 years on them. Plus you bought them from somebody who used them for a while. Like what are they?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. So I guess they were probably like, those spurs would have been like the creme de la creme from probably like your early 80s to your early 90s is when you see kind of like the guys that have a pair. It's not anybody our age. It's their dads. That rode with them. So yeah, I would say, like, I don't know exactly how old they are, but I mean, definitely probably, 30, 40 years at least.
Damn, collector's item.
And do you know anybody?
They really are.
Do you know where they go back to? Like who originally bought them, or who you had them before? Like just some guy you just bought them off of? Like what was the deal?
Yeah, no, it was actually one of my really good buddies in high school, Garrett German. It was his dad. His name was Travis Murrow. I ended up getting them from him.
Do you find that you're go ahead.
Yeah, I got it. One more thing. Who else rode with those spurs? Like, is that what Donnie Gay and Jim Sharp, like all these guys all rode with, or Ty or anybody?
I'm not sure. It was kind of split, like you mentioned Kelly right at the start, and it was kind of split between your Roys and Kellys, and then like there was a lot of guys that didn't really care what they rode with, I guess. A lot of guys rode with Bob Blackwoods. So yeah, I don't really know. There's just not that many set of Roys out there. Like I've probably only seen 20 sets of the actual bull riding spurs. Like there's a lot of horse riding spurs out there, but
Yeah.
not a lot of bull riding spurs.
Huh. What do you know what JB uses? What does he run for spurs? Does he have a set of those too?
He runs with the sling and shanks, and actually the guy that does the sling and shanks modeled his spurs after mine.
Okay.
We had a lot of conversations, probably, I don't know, it's been probably 5-6 years ago now, about making spurs and this and that, and he reached out and he was like, would love to put a set of spurs together for you, and just talk to you about everything. And I told him, I was like, man, like honestly, like I'm really happy with my spurs that I'm riding with now. But the only thing, like those Roys that I have they're a short set of shanks on the spurs. And so I've always wanted to try like a little bit longer shank just to see. So I had the sling and shank guy make me a longer set and just had him model them after my Roys. And as soon as he made that set, like he started really doing well, because it's everybody in the bull riding world, they like at least the look of the Roys, right?
Yeah.
And that's what he provided.
Huh. So I got to ask a little bit about this, because I fought around with spurs for quite a while. I had a pretty light set that would get bent. Then I had some Kellys for a while that I liked, that I wore on a pair of like lace-up boots. But then I got away from the lace-ups and went to some Barstows, I think. And then the rowels changed with the PBR. And then I had to go get different ones when I was in Brazil that were smooth. And like there's a bit of messing around a bunch of different times. But like I wanted to have them like offset a little bit. And remember the Kellys had a bit of a twist to them, so that if my foot was kind of like just searching, and I could still kind of get a hold. But like there's a lot of specifics in there, and we're kind of getting down a rabbit hole on that side of it. But I think a lot of our listeners would be interested in this. Like, what's the setup on yours like? And is there a bit of a turn? Like, what are you trying to do? Because you're like a guy rides with knees a lot, and you're trying to get up over the front. So the way we think about it on the ground is maybe often different than what it needs to be when you're riding. Like I just want you to kind of like dive into that a little bit. I'm interested in that.
Yeah, I'm probably not like as picky as some guys are. I don't get me wrong, like I'm very picky, but I guess my style lets me ride with a pretty basic set, I guess. So yeah, I messed around with all of the stuff in high school. Whenever like I didn't ride so technically correct. Because there's a lot of little stuff that goes into it. Like you said, the twist of the shank, the degree of it. Like I'm pretty lucky. I ride at probably, I don't know exactly the angle, but they're probably a 22 degree offset. They're pretty straight. They've got a touch of drop to them. But it's 22 degree straight shank that probably drops maybe 1/4 of an inch, and they're 2 1/4 long, like really, really short shanks. They're probably in between 2 1/4 and 2 1/8. Honestly, they're really short.
Where the norm would be 3, or what would it be? Or would it be 2.5?
Probably 2.5. Yeah, 2.5 to 2 3/4.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of guys that do ride. Like JB probably rides really close to a 3-inch shank.
Yeah.
And that's crazy to me, but obviously it works for him. So,
well, the way I think about it, like because going back, you want to have your toes turned out and everything, but like that's kind of a little bit of it's not quite right, because a lot of times your feet are kind of more, at a little bit of an angle out, but to get the best hold, you're not going straight out, because you can't really get a hold very well with that, and you can't have your knees in them if your toes are turned out as much. So it's a little bit of they're more
well, and it depends on the type of bull that you're getting on, and I mean there's so many factors to it, and that's my thing. Like that set of spurs that I ride with is the most well-rounded set of spurs in my opinion, because they're really short, if I need to halt, I always have one. If I don't want to halt, they're really easy to, turn my toes in and move whichever direction I want to. The short shank with that degree works perfect for my style. Whenever, like I said, whenever I need them, I have them, and whenever I don't need them, they're not there. So it works with my style. You know what I mean?
How slow are things during a ride for you now? Like how long is an 8-second ride in your mind? Is it real time? Are you thinking and moving as you go? Is it still totally reaction? Like what is it like that for you as far as actually riding?
Yeah, it kind of depends on the bull for sure. But so the first 2 seconds of about every ride, like it's pretty quick, and it's like, reacting and all the things. But then it slows down considerably unless you're on a really ranked bull. But yeah, like after the 4-second mark, like it's really slow, and you can definitely well, I shouldn't say I can grasp kind of everything that's going on around me, and like literally see. It's when your peripherals come back in, I guess, right around the 4-second mark. And yeah, like if one's really bucking it, you still have to maintain enough focus that you can't do that, but like it still slows down a lot to where like you kind of know everything that's going on. You know what I mean?
I don't totally know what you mean because I didn't experience it a lot. if I
Maybe
ever
once or twice.
Yeah, if I wrote a good one, it was like I just blacked out and I was like, "What happened after?" I don't really know. I was just there. I just hung on.
Yeah. So that's how like the first probably jump. No, not even then. It's slow for sure. Like it's not me and you having this conversation and like just hanging out, but it's like 100%. I can tell you everything that happened. You know what I mean?
Really? So tell me everything that happened on the Bruiser ride at the NFR when you were 94 and a half.
Yeah. So Bruiser ride, bull comes in like he's great big pet, all the stuff, right? How deep do you want me to get into this? Because like, man, this ride, like I do know everything.
This is a bull riding podcast. We are fans, so we can talk.
We want to hear. Nobody gets to hear this kind of stuff. So
yeah, fair enough. So he's in there. The only thing that I really wanted to do, because he has that. Sometimes he's got that weird move where he kind of blows out sideways. The only thing that I really was focused on beforehand was just like getting out on him really good. First jump is just, it's the most important jump, bottom line. So anyway, he was kind of leaned on the gate just a touch, and that was the last thing I wanted him to do was kind of like scoot out down the gate, like it'd be like his left side of his body. I didn't want him to push my left leg back. So I had HD pull his tailhead over just like this much, right? Like I said, he's a pet. It's not like Bruiser was trying to cheat me. So he pulled him over, and the really thing I wanted to do, I knew he wouldn't throw me off going left, which he almost ended up doing. But at that point in his life, that was where he was getting everybody. So anyway, he starts around the left, and it was one of those things like I was going to try to ride his outside shoulder the whole time. Because then I felt like whenever he went back right, if I could really drive back out over the front of him, like I knew he wouldn't leave me if I could just get out over the front of him. You know what I mean? Because he wasn't an extremely fast bull. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to hang out on the left, and whenever he jumps forward, he'll tug on me, and I'll be able to pick him back up and then finish the ride really strong. Whenever he turned back, had me a little bit to the outside and a little bit high, which, like I said, it wasn't the biggest problem. But then, like, he kind of straightened me up a little bit, probably like it'd be like the third jump in the spin. And as soon as he straightened me up, I was like, oh, darn. Because like if he would have kept going left, it'd have been really hard for me to get the whistle. And he didn't buck that hard whenever he was going left. You know what I mean? I guess he was just cool enough about it that he should never throw you off. And so anyway, like I was kind of waiting, and he did. He set me up. Well, I knew the right was coming at some point. Didn't know when, but knew it was coming. So it was one of those things like I was just kind of like pausing, and just kind of holding what I got instead of really moving over. Because I knew as soon as like I kicked loose and got in the position that I probably needed to be, the next jump would be coming and I wouldn't be able to stay on the reversal. So just kind of kept biding my time, like I said. And as soon as he jumped out of it and jumped forward, it was crazy because I didn't think his timing would change at all. And it changed a lot. Like it changed a lot. He went from being super nice. And it was weird because like the way he backed up, you know, like we'd all envisioned what that would feel like, but it doesn't feel like what you would normally think, especially at that point in his career. Like he got to the point like he was pretty heavy whenever he would do that, and not heavy in the sense of like jerk your arm off, but like he just kind of disappeared out of the air because he'd come straight up and then it was just straight down. Like he didn't have any movement to him at all, forward or back. So it was literally just like, I don't even know how to describe it. It was like 1,800 pounds of feathers dropping out of the air, if that makes sense. Like,
Wow.
because whenever he would stall, there was nothing really going on. Like he was so athletic. He hit the ground so soft, like by far the smoothest bull I've ever been on. Whenever he was bucking, just because, like I said, he was just such an athlete. So it's like, you knew he wasn't going to hit the ground hard, but it was just a weird feeling. I've never been on a bull that really felt that way. And for most of the time, like it nothing really kind of like surprises me at this point. You know what I mean? Like I've usually kind of been there, done that. But that jump was really odd. You saw the jump of it, that like it just went absolute mayhem, and that was when he picked me up. Because he took the little jump right there, and like I said, it was just a jump that I had never really felt before. I went from kind of being tipped into my hand just a little bit, with a straight arm, not much weight, like kind of a Hail Mary move. It ended up being a lot more like heroic than the move like actually probably was, because the move was like pretty simple. Like I was really turned this way, like I had to get my hips and shoulders back square with him, and you know, getting my hips down was going to be the number one problem that I had, and I knew that. But the thing is, you couldn't go too far either, because and ring him out, especially lefties, not so much righties. Righties could usually just, you know, hold on till the end of the whistle, but like that wasn't how I wanted to ride that bull. You know, like I wasn't going to just hang upside down to get the whistle on him. A lot of guys have done that before, and you know, like it's cool. Yeah, you rode Bruiser, but you know, like he still beat you at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Yeah, you held on to Bruiser, you know. So yeah, anyway, it comes back right, and that it was just the whole move was going from being tilted this way to try to get everything back to square, right? And he lifted me off his back, and I was like, oh snap. And honestly, it kind of felt like whenever you're like messing around like on a bucking machine, and it felt very odd because like I was so far off his back. But like I said, there was still no power. Like he wasn't yanking on me, nothing like that, which is just crazy. And I remember looking down, and my right spur was like right beside the handle of my bull rope. And I was like, oh gosh, you know what I mean? Like that's not a good thing. But like I was still in pretty good bull rider position. I was just 3 foot off his back. Like I was still riding pretty good. I was just not where I needed to be. And then like the only thing that went through my mind was just like, I need to land in the right place for this to work. Like I had all of this daylight in between Bruiser and me. I didn't really think I was going to be whipped down or anything like that. Cause like I said, he's just not like a strong feeling bull. so it was all just about, like I said, like landing in the right place. And thank God it worked out and I did land in the right place. Because then after that, like it went back to being fun because he just, blowing up around to the right. And yeah, it's just cool, man.
So I've got the video here.
There's the oh shit moment.
Yeah. And even at the end of it, man, like he's getting in the air so much, but he's so cool. Like there's not an ounce of power, there's not an ounce of any of that. Like he's just an athlete.
Well, and talk about how you felt after the ride. Like that had to be a huge statement for you. He was the top dog, you're the top dog in the PRCA, and there's all the never-ending conversation of the PBR versus PRCA, especially at the height of that. Like that was a huge ride for you to ride the top bull in the PBR at the time.
Oh yeah, no, it was, and that was the thing. Like, I mean, like for me, I guess at that point, I had already like convinced myself that I was like that caliber. But yeah, like I guess for the outside world, they still had questions. Like I don't really know why. Every time I had like the marquee matchup, like I always rode the bull. But yeah, it was definitely one of those things. It was like it bottom line, like where else would you want it to happen to? You know what I mean? Like I think it was like round 7 or 8 of the NFR. I think it was round 8. Right then, like I was still in the race for the gold buckle. Like it wasn't like I had it sewed up or anything. Hadn't really done that good like that week. I won the night before on Smoke Wagon of Shad Smith, won that round, and then had Bruiser the next night. But like this was probably Bruiser and I's 4th NFR together, and never had drawn him. I've probably been in the draw with that bull more than anybody else in the entire world and never had him before. So it was just kind of destiny, man. And it was one of those things that like, I've been dreaming about that bull for so long. What better place to get on him than round 8 national finals rodeo, last guy out. Stetson was just 93 3/4 points, 93 and a half, like literally right before me on Diddy Wah Diddy. So yeah, like it was just like, it was the perfect moment. You know what I mean? Like it was the moment that like everything was just set up for it to be awesome. Like it's one thing to ride him at, Lawton, Oklahoma, the first week in August, but it's a whole nother thing to ride him at the NFR round 8, to pretty much solidify my gold buckle. So yeah, it was pretty special.
That's a good way to put an exclamation point on it. And how was like throughout your 7 gold buckles, like how did the things go? Like you said, for that one you hadn't had it sewed up at the beginning. You really had to work the 10 days, and then you've had times when you've kind of went in the outright leader and held on to it. Like how does that affect again your mental state and how you approach the 10 days in Vegas?
It's just a marathon. It sounds so easy, and some years it is. Like that was, like you always hear how tough the NFR is. Well, I didn't ever really like know that until probably like 4 years into my career, because like I come in, the hot shot rookie, that it really, like my ignorance was probably what made me so good at the time. Cause like I didn't know any better. Like I just thought I was the best bull rider in the world, and that's just how it was. You know what I mean? And like, it's the NFR. It's like, well, I win everything, so run them in. You know what I mean? Like it was honestly just like my ignorance and my stupidity, and a touch of arrogance at the time, that probably made me so successful. Cause and like it all happened like just perfect storm, man. Because 2014 roll in, like there's a lot of questions, right? Like, am I that good? NFR bull this, NFR bull that, because I really hadn't been on that many like NFR caliber bulls. Like we'll probably get on 10, 15 bulls that have been to the NFR like throughout the year. And it's just the fact that like when you go to Pro Bull Stats and look their name up, like they have the PBR finals NFR by their name, like that's intimidating. You know what I mean? But so first bull rolls in, I got Buck and Bull of the Year that year across the Wyoming line. And I was like, well, all right, like here's the time, put up or shut up. But honestly, like that was probably the best thing that happened to me because he comes out. I rode him probably, I don't know, 3, 4, maybe 5 seconds, and slams me pretty good. But it was one of those deals like I felt pretty good on him too, and I was like, all right, like that one was just nerves. And at the end of the day, like I'm well aware of the stats about bull riding. You know what I mean? Like most guys would have been like brokenhearted that they bucked off their first bull at the NFR. Like the stats say I probably only ride that bull at the time, probably 25% of the time. You know what I mean? And I felt like I rode pretty good. The second bull going into it though, Gin and Juice of Sammy Andrews, I had just got on that bull at Amarillo and he absolutely wore me out. Like it wasn't even a competition. So it was like, but got him rode, actually got super lucky about the second round. He really tipped me into my hand and I actually caught my loop on him and kept me from getting bucked off. And like literally right after I got him rode, it was all downhill from there.
The you mentioned the stat side of things, and so Pro Bull Stats is probably a huge asset, and we've worked with Slade to help him on some of the video clips. I remember Slade and I got some of that going a while ago, and we sent him a lot of stuff from up our way, and we can talk Canada. Like, there's a lot of different ways we can go. Again,
I want to ask before we move into the picking of the bulls for NFR. It's always fun to hear like how the process of that. Like we talk with like some of the Canadian guys and how that goes. Like, does it ever get heated when you guys are picking the bulls, or like how much of a say does everybody have, or like how I want to know the process you guys go through every year picking the bulls for the NFR.
It does get heated, man. Like, cause it's such a big deal. And like, I don't know, I take it very, very serious, probably more serious than like I actually should, honestly, strictly because like there's a lot riding on our decisions. Like not only is it, what bulls are there, but it's like a lot of contractors make their entire year off how many animals they get to the NFR. The last thing you want to do is have a guy not have a fair chance to win out there. It definitely gets really heated. And then you have like, guys that have their personal friendships and personal relationships that they bring in a jaded view of some of the bulls into that. The thing for me, like looking at it with quite a bit of experience doing it now, is like the one thing that really matters is bulletproof animals. And when I say that, like, I mean, if one of them's got a loophole, man, you'll see it at the NFR. And the thing that most people don't realize about the NFR, like those animals come out a week early. They come to a totally different climate, which is a huge difference for animals. I mean, a lot of the horse people understand that for sure. But like take Canada, for instance, like, Outlaw brings a set of bulls down. It could be -30 in Canada the week he leaves. And he comes down to the NFR and it's 70 degrees in Las Vegas. You know what I mean? Like that has a huge effect on bulls.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, if any one of them has like a loophole at all, just, they don't have a place being there. Even if they can be one of the rankest bulls in the world, like down in that setup, you got to buck them twice too. Like down in that setup, if there is a loophole, you'll see them run off at least once. And that's the biggest thing, is like they come down there a week early. They literally just hang out in the pens out there. You know what I mean? The day that they buck, they're brought in several hours before the performance. Like it's just long, hard days on them, just no different than what the NFR is for all the cowboys. And it makes it, like I said, the biggest thing is you just have to take bulletproof animals, because if not, that can be superstar, you're going to be waving at the announcers on the way by because he's not going to perform.
How many phone calls do you get after the stock list comes out from upset contractors?
Quite a few. And that's my thing. Like somehow, I guess because like I've won the world a few times and like I'm one of the veterans on the call. Like they they think that like it's my pick, I guess, because all of them call me and they're like, well, what the heck? Like, what'd you do? And I'm like, guys, like I'm 1 of 15. And at the end of the day, like it all comes down to our bull riding director, Cody Rostocki. Like he's the guy that truly makes the decision. Like at the end of the day, like if it's just tied, he's the tiebreaker. You know what I mean? And it's it's one of those things. It's I think people think I have a lot more pull than I do, which I'm sure my opinion, carries a little bit of weight, but it's not the whole like it ain't the Sage Kimzey show. I promise you that. I feel like I have a really educated opinion, but at the end of the day, I'm 1 of 15 guys that gets on the call.
Who's the worst guy to pick bulls with?
The worst guy, probably Boudreaux Campbell.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because Boudreaux's really smart about things, but he's the guy that like he'll see a bull be a superstar twice, and he'll be like, "We need that bull at the finals." Like he's amazing, but like he's not the type of bull that is really like would do good in that environment. You know what I mean?
And you saw him run off twice too. So he was 90 twice and he was 72 twice. We gotta have that one.
That's the best one. What was it like competing with JB for a full season and then having him at the NFR last year?
It was like I'm trying to describe it. It was good. Don't get me wrong. Like I like JB and especially him with Samantha and Jagger all year. Like it was good seeing him. It was, I don't know. I guess it wasn't that different. The only thing like you really see the star power that guy has, I guess, was the only thing that was like surprising to me. And I guess not even surprising. It was just different to see that, you know what I mean? Like in person at every rodeo we went to, like there'd just be a line of people everywhere all the time for him.
No way.
There's not many guys in rodeo or bull riding that have that star power these days. Like I would see pictures on Facebook of him, any little pro rodeo he was at, like you said, people lined up like to the parking lot trying to get autographs, just to visit with him for a little bit.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Is there a bit of jealousy there? Since you've won 7 gold buckles, he's only got 2, but he's got that following.
No, are you talking for me? No.
Yeah, like I'm just wondering though, like because like technically you've, like I guess he's won 7 million, you've won over 3 on the PRCA side of things, but I guess like the PBR has helped build his brand even more than technically than parts. Like I guess some could argue that you've won more, but that gets into another question about who do you think the greatest ever is, and what is that? I think we asked him that same question, and he argued that it had to be Donnie because he won so many times.
Yeah, it's right? Donnie, 100%. Like you can't. I don't even know that like that's arguable, to be honest.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, it's no different than, like basketball. Whenever you start comparing, like generations, right? I don't think you can compare across generations. But yeah, it's Donnie Gay, 100%, and like strictly just for doing it that long. I think that's the thing that nobody really like understands. That's not in like the thick of it, you know what I mean? And it's no different than like Tom Brady playing football. Like it's one thing to come out and be a stud at 20 years old, you know what I mean? And it's one thing to go win a couple championships and have some success and ride off into the sunset at an early age. Like that's a whole nother ball game than a guy like Donnie Gay that literally comes out and wins 6 gold buckles relatively quick, turns around, takes him a couple years I think to win the 7th, and then literally retires from the sport of bull riding, thought he'd never ride again, and comes back and wins the world. Like it's, and you're talking about a period of what did he win his first one in, like 71?
74. I'm just looking back. So 74, he won 4 in a row.
74, won his last one in 84.
Yeah, in 84, yeah. And
yeah,
he won 4, then Butch Kirby won in 78, then he won 3, so he had 7 in 8 years, which is identical to yourself. Yeah, 7 and 8 years, and then 2 years off, and one wins the 8th in 84.
Yeah.
So that's kind of wild, actually, because you won your first in 14. So
Yeah.
then, even if this year's for sure off, so you could come back and you could have 8 in 9 or 8 and 10 years, where he has 8 and 11. So
Yeah.
interesting.
So when
But
you do
no.
you get that eighth gold buckle, when the conversation comes up, like how do you compare the two? Like how does the greatest ever conversation change? Something I've asked
Yeah,
this to a few other people.
That's the thing. I think it's incomparable. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, you could make a pot of coffee and talk until the very end of it, and you're not going to, like, they'll just be, it's just an opinion at the end of the day. Like there's no fact that you can be like, well, Sage won 27 gold buckles and Donnie only won 8. Like even if I do end up, riding until I'm 45 and winning 20 gold buckles, like there'll always be the asterisks or the old timers that's like, well, all the bull riders worked together back then, and we didn't have the PBR to split the time. You know what I mean? Like it's apples and oranges, really. Like even though it's the same sport, but it's no different too. Like Bill Russell has 11 NBA World Championships. 11 NBA World Championships is not possible in today's world. Period.
And you never hear him in the conversation as the greatest ever. It's always Michael Jordan or LeBron.
Yeah,
Steph and everybody else.
Yeah.
And
that's what I'm saying. Like it's just opinions and whatever else. Like, but yeah, I don't think that it'll ever be like solved. Like I don't think there's anything I could do, even if I won 3 more gold buckles over there and then won another 2-3 world titles in the PBR. Or like there would still be people that's like, oh well, all the bull riders aren't together. You know what I mean? Like it just
You never satisfy everybody.
Yeah.
So in saying that, where would you rank someone like JB then? And on the all-time list, like we made a list of Canada, and then we made a list like of Canadian bull riders, bulldoggers, bronc riders. So we kind of made a list like that, and it's a goal of mine to do one of these. We'll probably start in the world on the bull riding side, and to do it objectively, I think we have to do it based on the world titles and whatnot. But like, based on that, I think JB he makes that list pretty high up, but I don't know where at this point yet, right? Because you got to have Adriano, and you got to have Silvano up high for winning the PBR 3 times. But then JW Harris, he was in the conversation to beat Donnie's record early on in the between 08 and 2013. So
yeah.
So yeah, I wonder.
JB's definitely top 10. You know what I mean? Like for sure.
Yeah.
Is he top 5? I don't know. Because it depends on, it depends on how far back you go to, and because like there's a bunch of like legends, you know what I mean? And that's the thing, like especially when you go to really like talking about, like what guys did and this and that, because the sport's changed a lot. Like the big question is, where do you put a guy like Denny Flynn? You know what I mean? Wins the average 3 times, never really rodeoed hard, never won the world, but absolutely, an incredible bull rider. And but that's the thing, like, do you go strictly off accolades, or do you go off talent, or
or riding the Rankist bulls, which JB and yourself, you guys are high on that list for riding the Rankist ones. Jose setting, making some of the greatest bull rides we've ever seen.
Chris Shivers made many 90-point rides in his career.
Yeah, I think
so. One thing I've been thinking about all this NFR talk is, do you think we'll see somebody ride all 10 bulls of the NFR in this era of bull riding?
Or ever again.
Or ever again, yeah.
It'll happen. Just the thing is, like, all the stars have to align. You know what I mean? And yeah, it will happen, because honestly, like, guys are too good nowadays. The caliber of bull riders that people are watching on a day-to-day basis is so strong now compared to what it was even like 5 years ago. It's like all of these kids ride really good. So it'll definitely happen, because at some point, like, a bull can only buck so hard, right? And the kind of the way the whole industry is going, especially with the futurities and stuff, like, it's more rider friendly type bulls, instead of like the big yank your face off, knock your teeth out type bulls. With that being said, like, Whoopaw's a perfect example of that. You brought up Jose being, 90, almost 99 points. It's like Whoopaw bucks harder or as hard as any bull ever, and they ride him 50% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like it, sheer bucking power doesn't throw guys off anymore. It's more to do with like the bad bulls that actually, like I say bad bulls, the tough to ride bulls throw guys off, not how ranked they are. And that's honestly, I think it'll probably be easier for a guy to ride 10 the further we get along, because like even you watch the videos back of like Jim Sharp and Norman Curry and all them, like on the freaking big
ones.
yellow whales from
Yeah.
Washington, and over in the Pacific Northwest that they were having to get on, like
The caddis bulls, right?
those were hard bulls to ride, you know what I mean? So it's, in a way, it hasn't, like, it's gotten harder to stay on bulls, but you're only talking about 10 bulls too. So like the overall percentage lowers, but really, like, the big thing is I feel like every year you always have one or two goes at the NFR that like are bad goes, if you will. And for a guy to ride 10, he can't have any of those. You know what I mean?
Why do you guys have to take those tough ones still? Like, is that part of the deal and the thought process? Like, oh yeah, that one's, they don't ride him very much, but he might be a hunk of garbage. Like, do you still, like, how do you get around not taking those bulls and just taking a pen of 93 pointers for every round for the whole time? Like, you got to set the pens a little bit, but like some of it's up to you guys on what you bring as well, and how mad the contractors get when you bring the hard ones.
It's all up to us, and I'm probably not the guy to ask this to, because I am always very opinionated on leaving the eliminators at home, because we really don't have any eliminators anymore, man. Like the days of the old school eliminator is just, it's over, because the old school eliminator, even if you do stay on them at the NFR, they're going to mark you 78 points. And it's like,
what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. It's like the fans don't like watching this bull hop and skip around the arena. We don't like getting on them. The judges don't like watching it. What's the point in doing this, right? And that's the thing that, like, I'm fine with having, like, we've got it set up now to where we kind of have like this semi-eliminator pin, and basically it's like it's our 4 pin, so it's a step below the really ranked bulls, because, and really too, like the PBR kind of like makes it a lot more difficult for us to set our pins too, because not only like the bull power is split a lot, so it's just it makes it hard, because like you look down the list and like we'll have 400 bulls sent in that we have to go through and cut them down to 100. And the very first thing, the way I look at it is like the very first thing you do is you go set your ranked pin of bulls, because, man, really there's only about 20 really ranked bulls out there. So you go through and you set your, try to find your rankest 17, 18 bulls, which will cover your 15 ounce plus rerides for your ranked pin of bulls. Then the next thing is you go into the 4 pin, and same exact thing. Like you take your next 17, 18 hardest to ride bulls, the rankest bulls. But the big kicker on it is you have to make these pins even now. And, you take a bull like Bruiser or, Whoopaw that bucks extremely hard, but like relatively easy to ride. Like I say easy, that's not the right word, but like the
Easier.
Success rate on them is high. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now you take a bull like Spotted Demon back in his prime, or Smooth Operator back in his prime. Like those bulls buck really hard. They both belong in the rank pin, but it's not really extremely fair to put somebody on Bruiser and put somebody on Smooth Operator. Like it's
in the same,
and that's where the balancing act comes, because like those bulls have to be in the rank pin, right? And I think the last year that we took Spotted Demon, we actually put him in the 4 pin, which was like our semi-eliminator pin. strictly because like he was just harder than all the other like ranked bulls we had in the 5 pin, which is weird. I know there's a lot that goes into it though, and especially with trying to make it all even is very difficult. Like the 1-2 and even like the 3 pin, like they're really easy to set, but the 4 and 5 pin is really difficult to get it all even and get the bulls matching up well.
Dang. There's lots to this. And some stuff that I never thought about.
More of a science. I love it.
Yeah. Okay, we should probably kind of almost wrap things up here pretty quick. I don't want to keep you too much longer. I got to ask who you're most excited to see ride at the NFR this year that you haven't maybe seen, that hasn't been there before. There's only a couple guys, but one of our guys hoping we make it is Jared Parsonage. One of the taller guys that's going down the road these days. And then I got to ask, what's your role going to be in Vegas this year if you're not competing? What are you going to do? Have you had the talks? Are you going to, take over for Donnie on the back of the chutes? Are you guys going to do it together? Or like, what's the, what's that look like? What do you got in the works?
Yeah, no idea what Vegas is going to look like for me. I know it's going to be really weird. This is the first time in a long time that, I won't be competing out there. So yeah, I don't know. Hopefully I'll be involved in some way. I definitely don't want to take Donnie's job at all. Because I think he just does a way better job than I would. So it's like, I'm not ever even like, that thought would never cross my mind. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, I'm thoroughly going to enjoy watching all the bull riding. It'd be super cool to see some new faces to the NFR that have been, like Jerry Wayne's a perfect example. Like, guy's been rodeoing for a long time, never really went that hard, but could sneak in there. Obviously excited to watch my little brother. And the way it's shaping out this year, looks like it might be a really good world title race between Stetson and Josh, at least like on paper coming in. But it seems like there's always the guy that steps in and knocks the first, 3-4 rounds out of the park at the NFR. And it's, Stetson's going to be there in 2 events, makes it harder for him. Like, I guess I'm just going to be more excited to just be a fan of it than be wrapped up in the madness that the NFR is. So, like I said, I'm just going to enjoy every part of it and honestly just get to enjoy just being a fan of it.
Okay, I got one more I got to get to, and then Wacey, I'll hand it over. But so, JW Harris had the goal to beat Donnie's record. You've got guys like Jess Lockwood. We thought he's going to win 5 or 6 world titles. JB, we thought he could have won a couple more. Just McBride could have won multiple times. Guilherme. Silvano wins 3 pretty early on and now hasn't won one in a bit. I've thought about this a little bit, talking to you guys that have won them multiple times. And I wonder what the motivation is to keep going and keep pushing and break those records, even once you're at an extremely high level. Even Jose's won 2 now and then misses this past season. But like, after you're winning millions of dollars, like how do you keep motivated? And what, like, for you, what keeps you, what's the drive? What keeps it going?
Yeah. See, so that's the big thing, man. And I think that's the reason you don't see these record books toyed with very much. Because like, you start out and, for me, and this has been something that I've really had to work with. So I'm glad you hit on this topic. Because my motivation is always changing, right? At 18 years old, step out, get my permit. Like, all I want to do is ride bulls, man. Like, I don't care about any of the nonsense. Like, I just want to go freaking stomp down some Bramers and, have some fun along the way doing it. No real thought about anything, you know what I mean? Like, just didn't care, whatever, like, run them in. Moving forward, like, well, the older you get, it's like, well, okay, like, maybe I need a house and maybe I, like, want like some things to call my own. And so that kind of like shifts the thing to like, well, maybe money is, a really big driving force in what you're doing. Well, it's like, that's fine for a little while. And then you're at, you're 5 years in at this point and you're 23 and you have, you know, a big place paid off, and you got some cattle, and you got this, and you got that. And like you have a really nice life set up for yourself, probably a better life than what you could have ever imagined for yourself without the sport of bull riding. So you have all this going on at 23, and you're just like, it's very easy for guys to look around and just be like, oh man, like, why? You know, like, why would I go back and do it? Like, I don't really need to. Like, I got my place and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm just done. Well, so then, you know, you find some new motivation. For me, it was, you know, like, not, like, really not leaving that thing there where I could look back and, you know, be regretful of like not putting my best foot forward and trying. Also right then, you know, I was 21 when Alexis and I started dating. So I had her pushing me this whole time, which was really, really good for me. Because it was one of those things like kept me grounded and really kept me like, moving in the right direction. And so, yeah, you know, for me, as you roll around and yeah, at this point, you know, 25 years old, got a better life than I could ever dream. You know, I got married that year. Just like a lot of like life going on, you know what I mean? And that's the thing is it's just the guys that can put all of that, not really on the back burner, but it's be able to juggle all of that. You know what I mean? And have the desire and the want to is super, super impressive because like at this point for me, the only reason I ride bulls, for one is like definitely to support my family, right? Like it supports my family, but also to inspire the young kids, man. And that's what I really draw motivation off of. Like it's not something that I go out and do for myself because like myself is pretty content with where I'm at and everything. But the thing is like, there's so many young kids that need to hear a lot and need to be inspired at the end of the day. Like that's the greatest thing about sports is the ability to inspire people in some way or another. And you know, like that's what I'm out here grinding for.
I think it's really impressive to keep pushing and to keep pushing the limits on those records. Like you say, a lot of guys don't like get to a certain point. They don't really, you know, we don't see the record books get changed because they get content with that early on. Whereas you've kept on pushing, and I think that's really cool to show the next generation that these records can be broken. It's not impossible to be done. Yeah.
Well, and like there's a double-edged sword to everything too, right? Because it's like I've sacrificed a lot in my life to be in the position I'm in, and that's just, I don't know, man. Like you can look at it however you want to, but it's one of those deals that like I know what I would have needed to hear. You know, 12-year-old Sage Kimzey needed to hear from the champion of the world, and me stepping into that role was really like hard for me to like imagine myself, because man, at the end of the day, like I went from 18-year-old kid to the guy that these young kids watched at the NFR and looked up to. Like it was a really quick time span of that for me. So stepping into kind of like that leadership and inspirational role was something that I wasn't very good at the start. And it took me longer than what I would have liked to like be the leader in the locker room and be like the leader for a bunch of guys. But it's something that now like I'm very aware of, and it means a lot to me because I care about the sport so much. You know what I mean?
It can get heavy to carry that at times too. Hey, like it's a big weight on your shoulders, like you said, especially at a young age.
Like yes and no, but that's the thing is, you know, you look at generations previous, and there was a lot of examples set that weren't what I envision being a true professional would like. That would be the example to follow. And so that's the thing for me is like, man, if I can help one kid, you know what I mean? At that point, my career was a success. And that's honestly what drives me to, you know, try to be the best person that I can. And I slip up. I'm not perfect, right? But try to be a really good person. Try to just live how I want my legacy to be remembered, and then how all these young kids can build off what I did, and it just make their lives easier, honestly. Because like it's a tough world to be thrown into, and like especially even like generations before me, it's like at 18 you just get thrown into the rodeo world. You know what I mean? Like there's no handbook that tells you how to go be a professional rodeo cowboy. And how many super talented young kids were ruined because they got in with the wrong crowd, or how many not real talented kids overperformed because they had the good role models around them, and they had this and that. Like there's you see it both ways. But that's my thing. Like if I can cut down that learning curve for these kids, and it can be like, well, Sage did it this way, and I like him, so I'm going to do it that way. It is my duty and my honor to make sure that the playbook that I leave for them is a good one.
So are you taking people along with you now, like traveling, like taking them on the road with you? Or like who have you traveled with over the past few years, and who have been your influences besides the guys like Donnie and that kind of crew? Who have you been going with and bringing along?
Josh Frost has probably been the biggest one. Tyler was hurt last year, and then obviously I'm hurt this year. But yeah, so Tyler Bingham has been my traveling partner for probably, I don't even know, 5 years, 6 years, maybe, probably 4 or 5 years. And then Josh jumped in last year, and like I said, Tyler was hurt last year, so it was pretty much just me and Josh. Clayton Sellers jumped in at the end of the year, but yeah, probably Josh, as far as like the recent history, has been kind of like the guy that he's been like my go-to as far as bull riding goes.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of ways we could go here. I forgot to ask the part about where a couple of your current sponsors are at. Hui and Wrangler. Are you still with? I see you're wearing the Hui gear right now, but are you still with Wrangler at this point? Like, because Hui's kind of getting into some of the denim and shirts now. It might be a bit of a conflict.
Yeah, it's definitely a little sticky right now. But I am still with Hui. I'll just put it that way.
Okay. I gotta say, I was at the Choctaw the other day. That's a heck of a place. You guys get to go there on like a little bit of a close to home staycation once in a while. I was there for a meeting for Montana Silversmiths. That's pretty impressive.
It's an incredible facility. I was blown away whenever we went up and got to tour kind of the whole thing, and they gave us a rundown. But that was actually, Alexis and I were just talking about how we needed to take a little staycation one weekend, especially because it's not like my schedule's real full right now. So it sounds like in the near future we're gonna run up there and have a couple days up at the Choctaw, because it's the thing for me. Like I've never walked in, and granted it's a brand new facility and all the things, but the new part of the casino is a non-smoking facility, and I've never walked into a casino and it actually, like, it smells nice and new.
It does.
Like it smells good in that casino, which is just crazy.
You got to make sure you get to the steakhouse a few nights. Food is very outstanding, so would recommend.
Yeah, it's incredible. That was, what is it? Is it 1842?
Yeah, something like that.
I think it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, that is an amazing place for sure.
Okay, couple of quick ones. Is that Bruiser ride your most memorable ride, and which buckle is the one you wear on a day-to-day basis, or the most memorable for you? What are you wearing? I remember you wearing something before that. I don't recall the story on it now.
Yeah. So Bruiser is probably, yeah, I mean, I've got a bunch of really big rides. Like the Bruiser one is super, super cool. And then whenever I rolled Pearl Harbor and Bismarck as well was like, it's probably like those are the two rides that really stand out to me. I'm actually up in my trophy room right now and I'm looking at everything, but yeah, I'd say those two. For years, I always wore my 2014 world champion buckle, just because it was the one that like I had on my belt, and there's a certain patina look on the gold buckles like after you wear them for a while, and I don't know, just never really changed it for whatever reason. Here in the last the last year, I started wearing my latest gold buckle, which would be the 21. I don't really know why. It was just one of those things, like I got to thinking about it and I was just like, man, like I guess it was more like mentally for me to like make myself feel younger, and like I was still like the top dog, because it's one of the, like, especially losing in 2020, like 2014 to now is a long time ago, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And I would say more, it was more like a subconscious decision of like, like almost like stepping into the new school, I guess. Because that's the thing, like I'm not close to done yet, and that's it was just more of like a 14's in the past, we'll leave it in the past, we'll step into the future, and there you go.
I'm not that old.
Yeah.
Okay,
Not
wait.
that old.
You mentioned you're in your trophy room. What's the most unique thing you've won in a bull riding match?
Or rodeo.
Most unique thing.
Or the coolest, most unique something.
That's not a buckle.
Oh,
He's gonna get it. Nice. He
Being
probably
in
has
America, I bet it's a firearm of some sort.
He probably has 2 trophy rooms. His trophy room is probably as big as my apartment.
It's actually bigger than my house.
it is pretty good size. Yeah. You hate to be the typical American, but the firearm for sure.
That's pretty badass.
Yeah, that's for the Top Gun at the NFR that year.
Oh no
And
way.
it is like
Dang.
it's a beautiful pistol.
Damn.
Dang.
That's
shiny.
probably like the coolest, prettiest thing. The guitars from Houston were definitely different this year. Austin gives a Brandon iron. I'm just kind of like looking
That's
around
cool.
right now.
Damn, that's a cool one.
Yeah, so the Brandon iron's pretty cool.
They gave away a
Actually-
surfboard at the PBR in Kelowna this year in Canada.
Yeah, Corpus does that too.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, Corpus does that too. I thought that was really cool. The gold medal from Salt Lake is like, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
If you won the Top Gun before the end of the NFR, would you consider putting the holster on your belt while you rode, and then firing off a couple of blanks at the whistle?
It would be pretty cool.
Sorry, Wacey, you better wrap it up.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, thanks for the time today, Sage. It's been awesome. I think we can go on for another hour and a half here if we wanted to.
Oh yeah.
But we'll let you go, and we'll wrap it up with our final question. We ask all of our guests, what is your definition of cowboy shit?
Oh, mine's probably going to be a little different than most, but I'd say cowboy shit in general is just being a cowboy. And to me, there's certain unwritten rules: doing things the right way, being a good person. Your word is your bond. Your handshake's worth more than anything. Just treating people with respect and dignity that deserve it. So that's my answer.
Well, thanks, Sage. We appreciate you doing this and taking the time, and we'll see you down the road somewhere soon.
You bet. Thanks, guys.
Okay, we'll see you.
What a race in the bull riding. Your man from Salado, Texas, with over $411,000, now a 7-time world champion, Sage Kimzey.
Thank you to Sage Kimzey for the time and the show, and I think that was a pretty fun one. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was great, man. Yeah, it's always cool to talk to someone like him. It's cool to kind of hear some stories that a guy probably wouldn't get to hear that often if you didn't sit down with the guy.
True.
And I think he's going to do really well on the TV side of things.
Oh, I think he is doing really well. If he didn't do well, they wouldn't hire him back. So I think he is doing good. Even though we can't watch it, I'm sure he's kicking ass.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I bet he would analytically break it down well.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be cool to have someone in the booth. I mean, obviously they have the right people in place all the time, but so someone so current too.
But part of that job though is people that do it well, and you would know this with hockey. The guys that do it well break things down and give good content, number one, right? So good
Mhm.
content. It can't just be what I say. It can't just be generic bullshit. Like where you and I get on a show, I'm like, hey, how are things? Oh yeah, they're good. They're we're fun. Everything's awesome. Great. Okay, bye. Like people don't give a shit if you're not giving them real like actual information. So if you can give them good content, teach them something like so if some average fan, if they can learn something new, I think that's great. But like real actual concrete facts and stats and actual meat to the content. And then the second thing is delivery. One person I think has done a really great job, or a couple guys, Craig Hummer and Just McBride. Those guys do an unreal job at the delivery of it.
Yeah.
Because there can be somebody have really great content, but if the delivery is boring or it's monotone or it's there's no energy to it, then why do I want to get excited about that if the person delivering the information isn't excited about that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, totally. And I think too, the being able to explain it in like layman's terms as well for people, like not being able to overcomplicate it is an art as well.
It's
You
kind of like
you listen, like Justin McBride's really good at it. Even you look at hockey guys like some of the guys like Ray Ferraro's really good at it. Like those guys who kind of dumb it down but still explain it at a high level is really cool.
unlike Hunter Ryan Singh that just doesn't do a good job of it on the hockey.
Well, you know what? As much as I hate Louis DeBrusk, he does a good job too, but he's too much of a homer for me.
There was somebody else. I remember somebody telling me they didn't really like Kelly Rudy on the broadcast either on the hockey.
He's okay. He's okay. He's not my favorite. He's one of those guys who has good content, but his delivery isn't the best all the time.
Maybe off. And I like Rick Ball
for himself. Yeah,
Rick Ball's play-by-play goes. He does a really great job.
Best, yeah.
And then Jack Michaels, guys, huge energy. Like for anyone that's a hockey fan, though, I've been told he's play-by-play guy for radio and sometimes TV. Does a great job as far as the delivery and the excitement is all there. Man, hockey's almost back. We forgot about that.
Hockey.
I'm excited about that part. The preseason starts while we're on the road.
The Young Stars tournament starts this weekend in Penticton.
Dang. Okay, so hockey's almost back. Who's our picks this year? Probably Colorado again.
Contest. I don't think. I don't know. There's a few teams like
I think lost some guys though.
Edmonton got better, and they also don't have their goaltending's not as solid as like nobody knows what's gonna happen with their goaltending because they got that.
If Jack Camille's any good.
Well, no, for the Colorado, they got Gorgiev over Kemper, right? So it's goaltending there. Lost a couple, lost Kadri, a couple key guys there. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see. But I think the Pacific teams like Calgary and Edmonton have a good shot.
You think Calgary is better or worse than they were before?
I think that they're better to an extent. Like they're not going to score as many goals they did last year, but they're better all around. Like they have like some of the best the best centers in the league now, like down the middle left. Like Michael Backlund's their third line center, so that's pretty sick. And then their D-course.
So you don't. Well, I guess Kachuk left too. I was gonna say you don't think Huberdeau's gonna score more than Kachuk or than Gaudreau, but
if they score the same, I think that they're gonna. I don't think you're gonna have 200-point players on your first line this year.
I don't know who the other 100-point guy would be. I guess like
I do think that
Kadri's not gonna get 100 points. Huberdeau probably will.
Huberdeau probably will, and I think that Lindholm will probably be like an 80-90-point guy. Just depends who's going to be their right winger. I don't know who that's going to be, but man, I think they're going to be just as bit as good and contend for the Pacific Division title once again. Like they didn't get any worse on defense, and their goaltending stayed exactly the same. So there's just been some shuffling around the top six. Yeah.
Okay.
I think Edmonton's going to be better too. They got better goaltending. I don't know if Jack Campbell's the guy like taking to the promised land, but he's definitely a lot better than the other two chumps they had there last year.
We will see. Okay, and then I got to go back to the practicing in Sage because Sage and there's 2 points to make: practice and bull riding. So, number one, Gary had the story about he told on the show about Luke Perry. He had him on the bucket machine and on the drop barrel and taught him how to ride a bull without ever getting on a bull. And then he got on a bull and he made an 83-point ride and the visualization side of things. So, I don't think this practice thing is all it's cracked up to be, especially when it's not the right stock. If I was getting on a bull today, I would not get on anything unless I knew exactly fucking what it was.
And you know who'd be a good person to have this conversation with is Cody Custer. He's really advocates on the like walking your way up like the ladder the right way, and he like the right kind of practice is such a big deal to him. So
that part of it, and then there's something else, but I don't know. Whatever. I'm with you on that. What else we got? You had a question that you wanted to get to.
Oh yeah. So this is kind of my random list of questions. We need something to talk about.
Mhm.
What is your favorite thing about when you pull up to a rodeo? The first thing that you like, oh damn, I fucking love this shit when you drive
Is
up
this
to a rodeo.
is this before I've set up or after?
Setting up aside, don't think about it's like what's your favorite thing about being at a rodeo, I guess you could say.
Hmm.
Even from a fan perspective. Or from whatever. Just favorite thing about being at a rodeo.
Favorite thing? I would probably say when I'm getting nervous, like playing like the hot song. That's probably one of my favorite things right now. As far as the
Nice.
action of doing the show. And then even if some folks don't like it, I do like the sing along parts of the night because there's, going back to the Flames and the production, which I put my name in to be the music guy for the Flames just to see
Nice.
what would happen, just for fun. But there's nothing louder at an event than the crowd. There's no and in Armstrong, I don't know if we talked about this, but there wasn't anything that I could have done in Armstrong on the last night to be louder with the PA system than the crowd was. So the crowd actually beat up the PA. They were so loud. So
Take that.
yeah, going back to the Flames, like they keep the music on during the sing-alongs. Like, no, you turn that shit off and you let the crowd go, because the more that we let the crowd go, the louder they're gonna be encouraged to be and to fill up the space. And when somebody's making a really good ride, like you were at the playoffs last year, like there was nothing louder than the crowd. You can't get
crazy.
louder than
Yeah.
20,000 people with anything you're doing in the as far as the audio side goes, right?
Mhm.
So that's my favorite part is the hot song when I'm nervous getting ready to go, and then the crowd when they really get hyped up and amped up. And then I could say the smell, because it's a very distinct smell oftentimes.
Like indoor rodeo smell is the fucking best. Like walking into like
Yeah.
the CFR or like a finals and you just smell the dirt in like a building that dirt's not supposed to be in.
Yeah. What do you call that? A
Yeah.
juxtaposition?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. Nice.
What about you, Wacey?
For me, it's like the external stuff, like visiting with people, like whether it be committee folks or
That's true too.
like old friends or whatever, just sitting around having a beer afterwards. Like that stuff's so fun. Got to do a lot of that this summer.
Can I change my answer? I take it back now.
No, you're just a good answer. Like,
Well, but that's true
whatever,
too,
but-
though. I love that too, man.
yeah, I think everybody
just-
does, right? That's one of the cool
less-
things about being part of it, right?
I feel like I have less downtime for some of that though. But I know Brett and I stayed up in the room till probably 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning on Sunday night after Armstrong, and then
Yeah.
got up at 6 a.m. to drive home. But we were like, though, I agree with you that those are even better than the action, because
Yeah.
I get to really connect with people and kind of relax.
Well, and even
after battle.
even for me this summer, one of the coolest things has been showing Jen all the stuff that I've got to show her. Like she doesn't come from like she's been an Armstrong IPE, but she's got to experience rodeo
entered
and
her
bull
cookies
riding.
in the baking
Yeah, and her
contest.
cooking and her cookies in the contest, but she's never got to experience like rodeo at like the level she has.
The
like,
VIP
where the
tent, thanks
yeah,
to
VIP stuff and just meeting everybody, and like she got to come to that perfect bull busting with me and BVJ and all that fun kind of behind the scenes stuff that she would never have had that opportunity to. So it's been fun to share that with her too. I've really
behind the
enjoyed that.
scenes, eh?
Yeah, it's cool. It's the little things that person gets to do that way.
Huh. I
Mhm.
like it. I
Or
like
even
it, man.
winning the fucking wild cow racing with Josh at Cochrane. Like Josh had never stepped foot in a rodeo arena in his life. Like
And
never
wins a
been around.
buckle.
Yeah, and wins a buckle. Like
Crazy.
that kind of stuff is wild, right? Like I love that rodeo gives people such an opportunity to do cool stuff like that. So
Sharing our lifestyle with others. I like it.
yeah, there you go.
I like it. Very nice. Okay, let's wrap this up. You happy?
Happy.
Okay. Thanks everyone for tuning in, listening. If you have an opinion, please share it with us. And we're open to conversation. So hey, maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe everybody's a big pussy. They should just get on more bulls. But if you would like to share your opinion in a reasonable manner, give me a shout. Let's hear what you got to say. Let's create some conversation and get some things going. We'll talk to you later.
Alone at parties in a deadly silhouette. She loves the cocaine, but cocaine don't love her back. When she's upset, she talks to Maury and takes deep breaths. She's a 90s supermodel. Way back in high school when she was a good Christian, I used to know her, but she's got a new best friend, a drag queen named the Virgin Mary, takes confessions. She's a 90s supermodel. Yeah, she's a master, my compliments. If you wanna love her, just deal with her. She'll never love parties. She's working around the clock when you're not looking. She's stealing your bossy out. Low-waisted pants on OnlyFans.